Hi there, Tad Hargrave from marketingforhippies.com, and the theme of today's video is if they don't trust your diagnosis, they won't trust your prescription. If you've ever gone to a doctor who didn't have much bedside manner, or a holistic practitioner who didn't really listen to what you were going through, didn't ask a lot of clarifying questions, but just said, oh yeah, what's going on for you is this. Oh yeah, that's just anxiety, that's just this. But you felt like they didn't really dig around enough. And then they make a suggestion. You're not going to be very compliant, is the term. You're not going to want to take what they've suggested and run with it and really invest into it because you don't trust it. They didn't ask enough. Their diagnosis seemed inadequate, half-hearted, not particularly robust. So why would you trust it? I remember I had gallbladder issues for years, and I ended up talking to a lot of folks in the holistic scene, and they were just, oh yeah, you just do this gallbladder flush, olive oil, lemon juice, and this kind of thing. Never mind that when I did the research, Lancet Journal had done tests on this and found that it was not a thing, or not in the way that the holistic, certain folks in the holistic scene portrayed it to be. So there's a lack of trust. There's different kinds of gallstones, pigment, cholesterol, and maybe those have a different response. Anyways, I felt like I knew more than they did. I just did not trust their diagnosis of my situation. So this is where diagnostic tools are so useful. Diagnostics tools can be, like a little throat scope, so they can look in your throat and see what's going on, or X-ray machines or MRIs, or little light, they look down your throat, or Chinese medicine, they look at your tongue, or certain people can look at just different body parts and by what's going on there tell what's going on in other body parts, feet for example, and they can point out to you and show you the evidence. Oh yeah, you see this here, this is probably an indication that this is going on in your body, or could be. It's evidence, and people are craving for evidence. If you have a diagnosis, it's good to be able to point people to some proof of your conclusion. If they don't trust your diagnosis, they're not going to trust your prescription. You might say to somebody, yeah, your problem as a leader is this. Because you may have an intuitive hit, and you may actually be reading it very accurately. You might be right. But then people get defensive, and well, where's that coming from? That's, bullshit. I don't want to, whatever. But let's say you were to say, well, let's do some 360-degree evaluation. You evaluate yourself, but also everyone you work with, and some colleagues will evaluate you anonymously, and we can look at the feedback together. Now, if you do that, and the evidence bears out that, yeah, your intuition was right, now you've got some proof. Now they're going to say, okay, you're right, I do need to work on this. So this is what quizzes, assessments can be, whether self-assessment or others, can anonymously assess you. That's the point of these things. Live blood cell analysis is proof. It's evidence that you can use around this. I saw a structural anatomist, and he was talking to a large crowd, but he had everyone stand up. He said, now lift up one of your legs and try to balance. Now lift up the other leg. He said, you should be, and close your eyes. You should be able to balance with your eyes closed on one leg. As a human, no problem if your structure's aligned, but if it's not, then you won't be able to. And people kind of falling over and laughing, but that's a piece of evidence. Are you dehydrated? Well, check your skin, and it should have this kind of response. If you're well hydrated versus not, is an example of proof. So I encourage you to think about this. How can you not just, there's, again, this whole ebook point of view marketing that I wrote about articulating your point of view. But once you've articulated, where's the proof? How do you make the case? Because when you are sharing your point of view, it's almost as if you're in front of the jury and you're saying, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, here's my take on things. People are on island A, they want to be on island B. They're struggling with this problem and they want this result. Or, if you're selling a product, people are, want the best quality version of this. And here's my take on how you make this thing, on the best way to do it. This is my approach. And let me make the case for why I think this is the best. Or if you're making a journey from A to B, here's my take on the best way to make this journey. That's what you're doing. But you can't just say, to a jury, I think this person's guilty or innocent, and share your conclusion, the conclusion about the best route from A to B, you've also got to say, well, here's Exhibit A and Exhibit B. And this is where stories come in. This is where case studies come in. This is where all the anecdotes and empirical evidence and studies, all of that comes in too. You can't just tell the jury, well, believe me, trust me. Doesn't that point of view make sense? It can't just be that. There's also got to be some sort of a case made as to why your point of view is trustworthy. And again, that could be a before and after photo with clients. You know, we're going to redecorate their home, and here it was before and here it was after, where they can see your taste and aesthetic done. You know, here's somebody got headshots done. They tried to do selfies, but I did a professional portrait, and here's the difference. You know, somebody came to me to lose weight or gain weight, and here's them before, here's them after. That's proof. You're making your case. So again, it's this combination of you have a point of view that you're making a case for and you're giving evidence for it. Now, if you just give the evidence and say, yes, it worked, it's great, but then people don't, they say, well, I do want that result. Yeah, I'm the before picture and I want to be the after picture. But what's their approach? Do I feel aligned with it? So that could be missing. Or it might be you say, here's the point of view, but you're not really giving any evidence that it works. And even though it makes sense to people, there's no evidence. So if they don't trust your diagnosis, they're not going to trust your prescription. This is so much of what marketing is making sure that people understand your philosophy, your point of view, your aesthetic, your plan for them, your protocol, your underlying assumptions and presumptions and premises of your work, but then making the case for them as well, and proving it again and again and again and again. If they don't trust your diagnosis, they're not going to trust your prescriptions. And if you're in business and your prescriptions are what they're buying, it's a big deal. That's all for today.